is prepare questions for the attorney about specifically organization. And is the questions that you're preparing, are they important just to get answers? Of course, you're important to get answers, but not just. When you're asking questions, you have to watch body language. This is what attorneys do. When you're answering questions and you're hemming and hawing and you're fiddling and all this, and all of that, you're showing like we're all nervous in interviews. And sometimes the interviewer gets a little nervous, and you can catch people off guard with your questions, simple questions. So one of the most important things for me is that as an interviewee, as a person going on the hunt for the job, even as a veteran paralegal, is how well organized this place is. Is it running like a top? Is it running well, or is it lacking? Okay, is the management lacking of the caseload? And you're like, how do I even know this stuff though as a beginner? Well, one of the things that I do, it's not just using my voice and asking questions, but I'm an observer, have always been an observer. I'm an observer of body language, have always been since I was a kid, little kid. And I watch people's reactions to what I'm doing, my questions in an interview, but I also look around. Okay, I also hear things. A lot of times you can't talk to your future coworkers or potential coworkers, and I'll give you a situation. I went into a law firm and I was told that 2 people had just left, and it was like glossed over. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we had 2 people that just left, unfortunately. They didn't go into drama with it, but there was drama, as it turned out. And so enough drama that 2 seasoned veteran paralegals would leave a small law firm. That's big. And so I wasn't seeing the red flags though, because I needed a job, and I was, embarrassed that I didn't have one, and I was trying to make a change. And so I took this job, and the interview went fantastic. Okay. And they were going to replace 2 paralegals with little old me. And so that should have been red flag number 2. But to have 2 paralegals leave at the same time is not anything that's coincidence. And it wasn't that they were both moving. There's very little they could say about this until afterwards. Okay. And so when I started asking questions, and what was afterwards? How long did it take? 4 hours for me to leave that law firm. So they brought in somebody, an attorney, who was going to be what they looked at as a person who could bring in business. Sometimes that's true, sometimes that's bogus. And anyway, I asked a simple question of this attorney right after I started, and the attorney was beyond sarcastic, beyond. And I thought, okay, let's just talk. Let's have a chat. And I didn't talk with that attorney. I went to the office manager, then I went to the managing partner, suggested by the office manager that I do this. And I went in there, and both of them confessed that there was a problem. And I don't think they knew what to do about it now that they brought this person on, not me, the attorney. And said, well, I have just been through a tragedy in my life, and I really don't need this in my life. I can't. And they said, Chrissy, good to see you. And they said they understood. The thing is, that was not an ethical way to bring an employee on. I think they felt they were between a rock and a hard place. And you're like, oh gosh, does this happen? This happens in every workplace, legal or not legal workplace. So it's up to you to ask questions. It's up to me when I was interviewing, which I thought would be like a negative thing to do, but it's the best thing you can do, because you find out the truth, hopefully, sometimes not, that why did 2 people leave at the same time? People at the same time, that's a huge red flag. Should have picked up on it, but I didn't, because of the emotional upheaval I had been in personally in a tragedy that I had gone through. okay? And so sometimes we're not clicking, and you have to write all this down. The question about asking, how is the workload managed? And that may be a puzzling question to an attorney, but that's a good question. How do you manage deadlines? Just let them answer. You may not even know the answer yourself, but how do you manage deadlines? To say, well, what do you mean? Say, well, deadlines where you have to file a document by a certain date. How is that managed? Is it just by the calendar, or are you using some other software? Write this question down, okay? Now, for certain areas of law, just a calendar is used. Like estate planning, you wouldn't have these court-imposed deadlines when you're doing wills and trusts and living wills and healthcare surrogates or directives, or power of attorney. You're not, that's just like, you may have a deadline of the clients coming in at 3 to sign off on documents. But when you're preparing for trial, you have a lot of deadlines that are imposed by the court. The court sends a document out and gives you all these dates, and so that's an overview, okay, of that. And so we use other systems besides a calendar to document when things are due. That's important to ask. And why is that important? Because you will see in just a snippet how well managed a law firm is. Now, what's a visual that you may pick up on? You may walk through. Now, they may take you in a conference room to interview you, but on the way there, you may be able to observe some things. What could you observe? You could observe the vibe of the feeling you'll get of the place. Number 2 would be, are you seeing a mess in this office? Are you seeing files just piled mishmash in a mishmash fashion on a desk? I mean like a mess. I don't mean 5 or 6 files. I mean like 30 or 40. And no one's working on them. They're just sitting there. That could be a red flag. Is it always? I would say 98%, yeah. That something's wrong, okay? And it might be that paralegals left, or one left, and it's just out of control at the moment. Or there's a lot of filing. I walked into one place, all the filing is laid out, but it's laid out by client, and they were just trying to keep on top of it until the new person came in. Well, that was helpful. And I was that new person. That was helpful. That wasn't like documents piled high, non-alphabetical like this, and then you've got to find stuff, and it's a total nightmare. So as a beginner, you don't know these things, and they know that. But now you do. Okay? So those questions that you ask that have nothing to do, benefit questions, they'll probably go over that with you. Vacation, all that, healthcare, they'll go over that with you. Those things you're going to get, 401k. But these are questions that go into the nitty-gritty so you can avoid toxic workplaces. And it doesn't mean that you'll know 100%. It doesn't. I should have questioned in that one job that I told you about. Should have questioned, but I did not. And I know this video is long, but it's so vital to you as a beginner. So it's a whole other thing once you get into it, and you can feel like a failure. Oh my gosh, I'm in this workplace and I didn't know it would be toxic. I should have, seen the red flags. You know what? You're learning. So cut yourself some slack. Stop the self-deprecation and beating yourself up all the time. I had to learn from the experience of, stayed there for 4 hours. So I learned in 4 hours. It was like I went to school. So pat yourself on the back, and you don't stay in toxic environments. But if you're not, my notebook is buried over there. If you're not writing down everything that you know how to do, and look, environment, why are you doing that? And that's the question. Don't stay. And if it's like so over the top, emotionally abusive, you're going to bring that home. That's going to affect you health-wise, mentally. And your mental health and your health, your physical health, is worth more than all of that trash. So don't leave yourself You have to figure out an exit strategy and a timing, and that will uplift you like nothing else. I've been there several times in my career where it was like, time to go. But you have to know how to bring about that exit in the best way for you. Because if you don't, then you're in a 9 to 5 job that's unhealthy for you, and you need to be in a healthy workplace, and you're building a career, not a 9 to 5. Change the mindset today. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.